Oh, in fact, I've here with the business now. We're going to go straight, in fact, to the Barclays Scandal. Former Chief Executive Bob Diamond surviving his interrogation in the UK Parliament. Just about, anyway. You're not quite so sure about the long-term prospects for this bank, though.
And more importantly, Stuart, neither are some key institutional investors in this company. It's true to say that Bob Diamond transformed Barclays, turned it into a global powerhouse of a bank. But under his stewardship, this company has lost millions of pounds in fines, and also its reputation now lies in tatters due to those rogue traders who manipulated the LIBOR rate and brought the bank into one of the biggest scandals of recent times. It's been disgraced, it's lost millions in fines, and some of those institutional investors now wonder if it's time Barclays was broken up.
You're the man in charge. The buck stops with you.
The rate-rigging scandal cost him his job, but still former Barclays CEO Bob Diamond defended his bank and its response to the LIBOR fixing charges.
I know Barclays. If we have another situation going forward, we'll still act the same way, to come out and be the first to correct it.
The rate-fixing revelations have cost Barclays top scalps and top dollar. There's the £290 million worth of fines and the price of Barclays' internal investigation, another £100 million. On top of that, £3 billion has been wiped off its share value. A massive knock for Barclays, which in the last 3 years has become one of the world's top investment banks, thanks in part to a Diamond-led takeover of Lehman Brothers' investment operations when Lehman collapsed in 2008. Now, some investors have suggested Barclays ring-fence its investment operations from its high street retail ones to keep customer deposits away from volatile investments. The idea is not a new one. The British government has wanted a split like that since an independent banking review last year.
It would help insulate vital UK retail banking services from global financial shocks. That's particularly important for us in the UK, given the way that major UK banks combine retail banking, high street banking, with global wholesale and investment banking.
The Barclays affair will put more pressure on the UK government to push through these reforms. That'll change the entire British banking industry.
Just staying with Barclays a moment, Stuart, just worth noting Moody's has announced today it's cut its outlook on Barclays from stable to negative, saying its decision reflects concerns that the senior resignations at Barclays and the consequent uncertainty surrounding the firm's direction are negative for bondholders. That's Moody's.
OK, well, Barclays shares have actually opened around 2.5% up, though they're still off by 16% since this scandal broke, of course, last week. What about the rest of the markets?
Bit flat, a bit of profit-taking at the moment, Stuart. A lot of investors are probably going to sit out the morning session, at least in Europe, wait and see what the European Central Bank does with its main interest rate, widely expected to drop that rate down to a historic 0.75%. You can see just the FTSE showing some gains there early in the day. Paris and Frankfurt down. The Asian markets, similar kind of picture. Don't forget, we didn't have any activity from the US yesterday. The markets closed for Independence Day celebrations. The Nikkei down by around 1/3%. Just briefly for you, while we're staying with the markets, worth noting that the Tokyo Stock Exchange has had regulatory approval for a merger with its smaller rival, the Osaka Exchange. They'll be getting together. That should all be done and dusted by next January.
Now, it's been a busy week for French President François Hollande. Balancing the books to meet new EU budget targets means he has to save €30 billion. One way of doing it is to get more money out of France's wealthiest earners, though they might just take flight to safer havens.
Living in France and worth more than €1.3 million? If yes, the French government wants a slice of your cash. To tackle their budget deficit, ministers have proposed €7.2 billion worth of one-off spot taxes for rich households and big businesses. In practice, this will only affect about 300,000 people, previously protected by a tax shield brought in by former President Nicolas Sarkozy.
This is to reintroduce fiscal fairness, by which we basically mean doing the exact opposite of what the previous government did. We will ask those who greatly benefited from those tax policies these past 5 years and who were greatly privileged, despite being in a position to contribute, to now make their contributions.
The French government needs to chop its budget deficit from 5.2% to 3% by next year to fit in with new EU rules. Monday's state auditor figures made grim reading. Government spending needs to be reduced by more than €30 billion by 2013. But socialist ministers want taxation first, spending cuts later. Britain is capitalising on this squeeze on the rich to flag up London as the place to be, with lower tax bands and lighter financial regulation.
I think it's wrong to have completely uncompetitive top rates of tax. And I've said before that if the French go ahead with a 75% top rate of tax, we will roll out the red carpet and welcome more French businesses to Britain, and they can pay taxes in Britain.
The French government's proposals are likely to pass through their majority in Parliament, leaving France's top earners pondering, is this the country for them?
Stuart, if you are a French tax exile then, and you're heading to the UK to take up that offer by David Cameron, this is probably the place for you. It's called the Shard. It is officially Western Europe's tallest tower, 95 stories, 360 metres high. It's pretty much completed. It's been funded by the Qatari government. Their executives are flying into London round about now to cut the red tape on it. The apartments at the top, you could probably afford one of these, Stuart. About 30 million, between 30 and 50 million pounds each for a penthouse at the top of this tower. I have to say, the last time I was in London, it was completely obscured, the top of it, by the mist and clouds. Really? With Britain's weather, it's not exactly the prime location if you want an unobscured view, I would have thought, over the city of London, but there you go.
Only to be seen in the summer. Now we're going to stay in the air, in fact, a moment, because there's money to be made if you like satellites. The industry's booming, and it's all down to the mobile phone in your pocket. Chris Bockman explains.
The demand for smartphones as well as TV and internet access has triggered a surge in demand for new satellites. This French company, Thales, is one of the biggest makers of satellites in the world. Right now it has an order for more than 40 small satellites to cover the sub-Saharan region of Africa.
There is a trend in the developing countries to try to be as equipped as in the more Occidental countries, and they are recovering quite fast the level of service that we offer in Europe or in the United States, and so they want the best technology available.
In fact, it can work out a lot quicker and cheaper to create a telecommunications network from scratch via satellite in Africa rather than laying down fiber optic networks. Lighter, cheaper and more sophisticated satellites are creating enormous business opportunities for new smartphone technology. These startups at this space trade show in Toulouse believe they can see the future thanks to new satellite-driven applications.
If you go back to, I would say, 20, 30 years ago when the internet was starting, we were at a long distance of knowing what will be the applications that we know today when you go on the internet. And I'm pretty sure that it's quite the same when we speak about these applications, the space applications.
Just as we often say, how did we get by before the internet? These engineers stroke entrepreneurs are gambling. In the near future, we will say the same thing about smartphone applications.
That's just about it from us. That's the business, and Claire's got the latest after the break.